Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to discuss about Docker Compose, and this video is continuation of previous video. In the previous video, if you remember, we created Docker containers for Postgres, and from Visual Studio we were able to connect through container, and we were able to add data there and fetch the data from the container database. But when I containerize my web API application as well, then we found that that connection was not working. So my containerized application was not able to connect to database. That was the one issue we faced. Another issue we faced, like if accidentally we are stopping a database container, then my web API is dependent on it, and that is still running, so that is started throwing error. And third issue we faced is whenever we are restarting a container, the data is getting lost. So today we are going to discuss all this problem also, and we are going to solve these problems through Docker Compose. So let's start, and step one is first verify Docker Compose is installed in your machine or not. If it is not, so first step is to install Docker Compose. So I am running Docker Compose help, and it is installed in my machine. So now next step is to create a Docker Compose file. So as we created Docker file with the help of Visual Studio, similar way even we can create a Docker Compose file with the help of Visual Studio. So just right click here, and if you'll go to add, then you should see, like, when we created Docker file, we added Docker support. Now it is asking for orchestrator support. So we can select container orchestrator support here, and let's keep Docker Compose here and click OK. And operating system, let's take Linux only, and let's create it. So it created a Docker Compose file for me, and here, if you remember, when we are building an image, we were defining the context as root, and we were defining the Docker file also as well. Similar way, it is already defined here in the Docker Compose. And image, instead of creating this way, I will say our image name is, if you will run Docker images, so you can see that our image name is hello Docker. So I will give my image name directly hello Docker here. Now remember, we executed command to create our container. So whatever we added in the container, same uh, like environment variable and other stuffs, we need to define in our Docker Compose file. So let's see our command here. This is a command previously we executed. So if you will see the port and all other stuffs, we are going to add all this in our Docker Compose file. So let me quickly edit here, and then we will go through each of this. So here, if you will see, we added, if you remember our Docker run command, we are having, we have defined the port 8080 for external and 80 for internal. Similar way we have defined it here. We have defined 8081 port, and then port 443 we have defined similar way here. We have defined the ASP.NET Core URL, so we have defined that core URLs here, but there is a slight change. Instead of wildcard, I added this localhost directly here, and as we defined the HTTPS port, we have defined in the command, similar way we have defined here as well. As we define the environment, we have defined the environment, and also we have defined our certificate password and certificate path as well, as we defined in the command when we execute it manually. So all this stuff is exactly same. At the last you can see that our image name, which we already added hello docker on top of it, and all other steps are exactly same. We have defined the volumes as well, and this is two steps. Maybe we can remove it now, and it will require it later. So let me remove this for now for better understanding. So for now, let's run docker compose command and see my API is working as it was working before or not. So let's try to run it. So I came to the location where my docker compose file is there. Then I can just write docker compose up command, and now we can see that it created my application. And now let's verify this as well. So maybe I can verify HTTPS, and it is loading now. Let me try to get some, and it should not because of the same error, right? So what is the benefit of this Docker Compose orchestration? So if you remember, we were facing the three issues, and issue number two was if I accidentally closed DB container, then web API started throwing connection errors. So I need something which manage my API container as well as my DB container. So as clear with the name, if you will see this image here, this person is managing and instructing uh, all the other people to play their instrument according to the need. So similar to this, the Docker Compose orchestrator will work, and I can add my DB container instructions as well in my Docker Compose file. So, and with the one command, I can start and stop my container. So my issue number two, which is if I accidentally close DB container, then web API started throwing connection error, will be resolved, right? So now let's add our DB code as well in Docker Compose file. So here in the Docker Compose YAML file, I'm going to add same thing what we added through Docker run command. Same all the steps I'm going to add here. Let me remove this, and so here you can see that I have defined my image. It is Alpine, and I have given the password, username and DB name, and also I have defined the volumes here and ports. But still, if you will see my three issues, issue number two is if I accidentally close DB container, then web API started throwing connection errors. So my web API is dependent on this DB connections, so that we need to define in our YAML file as well. Let's say my API is dependent on DB, and I can define that thing here. I'm saying like depends on this DB. So until unless this container is not ready, my this container does not work. So we have defined the dependency as well, and now we are starting and stopping with one file. So my issue number two is completely resolved now. Now if you will see issue number three, data lost and DB container restart, so that is also resolved because we have attached the volume with the our DB container. So even that container will die, but that volume will still persist and our data will not getting lost. And issue number one is still there. Container API was not able to connect to PostgreSQL container database while it worked with Visual Studio. So it did not work because both the containers were running on a different network. So we need to define some common network. We call it as a bridge network. And once we will have a bridge network defined, then both the containers can communicate with each other. And also, instead of local host, I should say, because the name of this DB is DB, so I should add DB here, and then I can define the other stuff. So I'm adding a bridge network here. I am saying network as a my network for my API, and same for DB as well. And also one more thing which we need to copy, this network stuff we need to define. So basically, we created a common network. We are calling it as a my network, and it is a type of bridge network. And in both the containers, we have defined that networks. And now, as a host, I'm using the DB name directly, and remaining stuff will be same. And last thing which we need to change is migration code, because when we executed through Visual Studio, we manually created the migration command, but when it will be a container, then we cannot manually execute migration command. So maybe we can add this code here in the program.cs file. So here basically we are checking if any pending migration is there. If migration is there, then we are going to migrate it. So that's all. Now we can create a new image, because we need to build a new image because we modified the source code as well, and then we can run Docker Compose up. So let's do that. So let's first delete the existing image, and let's check for container as well. So let me delete this container. So we don't have any container now. Docker images. Let's delete this hello Docker image as well. Yeah, so now we have deleted the image as well. Now we can run the docker build command. I will run this docker build, then take, it was hello docker, and then file. So my docker file is under this hello docker sample test. So let's give hello docker sample test, and then I will say docker file and dot, and let's hit enter. So it is building a new image. Let's wait for it. And once this image is created, then we can run Docker Compose up with this new image, which is having the code changes as well, right? It is publishing, and now it is at final steps. It is copying the certificate. Yeah, it is done now. So let me clear this. Let's see one more time Docker images. We can see that images there. Now I should able to run Docker compose up command one more time. Let's check our YAML file. We have defined depends on DB POSTGRESQL. Yeah, we have defined everything correctly. Let's check if our container is restarted. Let me stop and rerun it. Okay, yeah, now we can see that even the migration is also executed successfully, and our application is also listening on both the ports. So now let's go back here. Let me refresh this page. Let's try it out, and let's hit execute. So I can see empty record, but yeah, my database connection is working and I am not getting any error, and I am running on Docker HTTPS port. Now let's try to post some record. I will set Tapan Dubey and execute this. So I received 200. Now let's try to see. Yeah, it is working. Now issue number 1 is completely resolved and we have verified this. So maybe I can cross mark on this. Issue number 2 is also done, because now instead of running it alone, we are running with the with the Docker compose up and down, so both the container will start and stop together. Issue number 3, let's verify. Now let's stop our container. So it is stopping both the containers. See, API is done and its DB is also done. Now both the container is not running. Let's let's verify to refresh this page, and as expected we are seeing not found. Now let's run Docker compose up again. DB is started and API is also started. And now let's see if I'm able to see my old data or not. So I can see my old record as well. So my issue number 3 is also resolved. So that's all for this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, and please share your valuable feedback. Thank you for watching. See you on next video. Thank you.